Namaskaram. Welcome to my channel, VPK Nutrition, Holistic Wellness with Pushpa. In today's episode, I wanted to cover one of the enemies of the mind. Now, I've done an episode a couple of years ago about the 6 enemies to our mind, which takes away our inner peace. So I want to continue with that. And today I will be covering one of those enemies, which is anger. Now, this also came as a request from someone who watches my channel regularly. And I thought this would be wonderful to share from a Vedic perspective, from Ayurveda, which includes diet and lifestyle, Yogic wisdom, which includes going beyond the mind and some of those practices, a little bit from Bhagavad Gita, and also from some modern psychology, which touches upon how to handle anger when it arises. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for all my viewers and my subscribers who watch regularly and share their feedback. If you find this useful and helpful, please do give it a thumbs up, share it with others who may be benefited. And also, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. And I would also like to see some of your comments if you like this video or ideas for other videos as well. So thank you so much once again. Let's get started. Anger. Now, again, this is a very heated subject, right? Pun intended. As we all know, anger is a very natural response. Now, the only problem is when we don't know how to manage it and we either throw it out on someone else or suppress our emotions and try to contain it, then we end up with a lot of health issues, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So we need to know how to deal with this. So anger is not a bad thing because sometimes it does happen and we all are humans and it does happen. However, it's important to learn how to digest this anger in a healthy way so it doesn't end up causing harm to us or others. So today we will talk about some of the ways to manage it from both modern wisdom as well as Ayurvedic wisdom. So let's start with the definition of anger. What is anger? Now, anger is our response to a situation which causes some kind of dissatisfaction or frustration. It could be a very simple thing, like you're stuck in traffic and you're trying to get somewhere on time, and because of that, you get angry because you really don't have control over your situation, but that leads to frustration and causing anger, and you start to boil up. Or it could be anger in relationships, which is pretty common because we have different expectations from different people, especially the ones closest to us. And if they don't fulfill our desires or at least go along with what we think is the right thing, then we could get angry as well. Now, again, this is something everybody experiences, and a lot of it has to do with the way we were raised and how we were programmed to think. Now, some people may say, anger is justified. Naturally, I'm going to be angry. Sure, that's possible. A lot of situations that could happen. Yes. But who is this anger hurting? Is it hurting the other person, or is it hurting you, or is it hurting both? So in Sanskrit, there's a word called dvesha. Dvesha means dvi visha. It's split into dvi and visha. Dvi means two and visha means poison. So when you're taking fire and throwing it at somebody, it is burning your hand first and then also burning the other person. And at the end, what happens? There is no peace, there is no happiness, and we actually are poisoning both of ourselves and feeling miserable. So really speaking, although anger may seem justified at times, you also have to remember it is going to hurt you in the long run, both people. So what is the impact of anger on our body, mind, and spirit? And why is it that we need some tools to manage it better so we can remain healthy? Number one is studies have shown that the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, are secreted every time we go into a stressful situation or feel angry within. So we're always in that fight or flight mode. And if you chronically go through this on a daily basis or quite often, then this can lead to a lot of health issues. It can increase your blood pressure and it also decrease your immune function, leading to inflammation in the body, which is the major cause of a lot of our diseases today. Number two, it can also cause digestive issues. Now, the Agni in the body is what is creating that anger, but its Agni is what helps to digest our food, digest our thoughts and emotions. Now, if you're always using up this Agni for getting angry and throwing it at others or suppressing inside, you really don't have that Agni to process the food that you eat, and it leads to indigestion. So, no matter how healthy a food you eat, you're not able to digest it because you have a lot of this negative emotion within yourself. So it is important that you take care of this for your own physical well-being. From a spiritual point of view, suppose you're one of those people who does a lot of spiritual practices, especially yoga and meditation and things like that, and found that calmness within you, just one little anger episode can really set you back quite a bit. So it's almost like you're adding a ton of impurities to a pure mind, and then you have to work all over again. So it's very important to remember that not to lose it, because that kind of sets you back so much in your sadhana. And last but not the least, it does take away your peace and makes you very unhappy. Now, this is beautifully illustrated by one of the two verses in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 62 and 63. And this is called the ladder of fall, where Sri Krishna talks to Arjuna, who is comparable to a human being like us with all of these kinds of emotions. So here he talks about how anger can lead to our own destruction. And when he says our destruction, he means the destruction of our own peace of mind. So this is how the sutra goes. First line says, Dhyato Vishayan Pumsaha. That means when you're contemplating on the objects of the senses, when you're looking at them or feeling them or whatever it is, what happens then? Sangas Teshu Upajayate. You get attached to them, right? We want to possess them. When you see something nice, we are guilty. You look at Amazon, they tempt you. That is all marketing. And then we want to possess that. So what happens when you develop that attachment? Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. So this attachment to that object creates desire in us to want to own it. Kamat Krodho Bijayate. Now, once that desire comes, our mind starts wanting it, and if you don't have it, you get agitated and leads to frustration and anger. Then he goes on to the next verse to talk about what happens after that. So he says, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. When you're angry, you become delusional, or you lose your judgment. Your judgment becomes very clouded. And then what happens? Smriti Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha. That means the memory also becomes confused or bewildered. Smriti Bramshad Buddhi Nashaha. So when your memory gets confused, then we lose our intellectual faculty or discriminating faculty of right from wrong, because we have clouded judgment, confused memory, we're not able to make the right decisions, and buddhi nashat pranashyati. So when you lose your intellect, you cannot think straight, you lose your peace of mind, you're unbalanced, ungrounded. So Bhagavad Gita talks about how just that one little thing like anger can lead to our fall and losing our peace of mind. This is called the ladder of fall. Now, a common analogy used in this context is if you're standing at the top of a staircase, you take a ball and you drop it on the first step. It starts to go down slowly, right? Slowly it goes down. But then after a couple of steps, then it starts picking up momentum, and then by the time it goes really fast and hits the ground and perishes or breaks. So think about it like that. So, but if you catch it right at the top, there's a good chance you can tame that anger. However, if you let it fester and get, spiral out of control, then eventually you're going to lose your peace of mind. So this is a very good thing to remember. So when you start spiraling in your own mind, this is bring this example to your head and then be mindful of what is happening. So now that I've talked about how anger can really affect our body, mind, and spirit, let's explore some of the tips to help us manage this so that we are not affected by this all the time. First, we'll start with the Ayurvedic perspective. So first of all, Ayurveda is all about diet and lifestyle. And Ayurveda is a holistic approach. We always look at the root of the problem and try to fix it from that level. And we're also made of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I've done detailed videos about these, and I will share the link in the description. So sattva is a clarity of the mind. Rajas is more activity, agitation in the mind, and tamas is more dullness in the mind. Now again, the agitation of the rajas, when you have more and more rajas in the mind and also too much of fire or heat in the body, anger becomes very second nature to you. So generally in Ayurveda, anger is considered to be like a Pitta response to stress. However, Vatas and Kaphas can also have anger, but they just manifest it differently. If a Vata gets very angry or frustrated, they usually get very anxious and probably start, pacing back and forth and, getting anxious or eating. Whereas Kaphas, on the other hand, can also get angry, but they have a more tendency to withdraw and become more depressed, or they suppress their emotions, or they practice silent treatment. So there are different ways they manifest, and I've shared all of these things in my whole playlist that I've done on Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and how these things manifest in different people, and I will share that, and please do watch that later on. So let's talk about some tips. Number one is diet, of course. So you want to make sure you're eating proper meals according to the dosha clock, three meals, but also picking foods that are more cooling in nature. If you're prone to anger, pick more cooling foods like cucumbers, sweet fruits and melons, milk. So these are some cooling things, and also cooling spices like coriander, cardamom, fennel seeds. These are all some cooling spices that you can add to your food. Turmeric is also a cooling spice. And then also try to avoid very spicy food. Eat moderate spice, not like chilies and jalapenos and things like that. Again, avoid too much sour and also too much salt in the diet. All of these things have Agni in them these days, so definitely those will aggravate the Pitta symptoms. Then if you want to avoid stimulants like caffeine or even alcohol, so these things also increase the heat in the body and cause too much of stimulation that can push the Pitta. So these are, again, that is why in India, we don't really drink black coffee. We usually add milk to it and sugar, because that kind of keeps it cooler, rather than drinking black coffee, which can be very Vata increasing and Pitta increasing at the same time. So when it comes to lifestyle, Abhyanga, oil massage is very helpful. Again, oil massage is all, you can use coconut oil, cooling oils, and slightly warm it up and do that as a daily massage. And remember, massage is also called snehana. Snehana means love, or giving love to our body. So applying this oil and cooling down also is like giving love to yourself. Sometimes you don't feel love, also you get angry and upset and frustrated. Generally, exercise is also very important. You can do some daily exercise to release a lot of this stress and tension, and of course it is good for your body as well. And of course, if you can take a walk in the nature, the trees have so much of energy to give us, so definitely go and enjoy some time around the water. If you have a lake close to you, or you have trees around you, these all are very cooling and healthy for our own body and mind. So the basic principle is cool your body and calm your mind. Let's look at some yogic practices. Now, yoga is not about just controlling the mind, but it is more like going beyond the mind with some of these spiritual practices. First of all, we have asanas. Asanas are, postures that everybody knows about. However, the very specific ones like surrendering, like forward folding asanas or twisting poses, all of these things actually help to release a lot of tension that we lock in our joints. When you do the forward folding, it's almost like you're surrendering your ego, surrendering your mind a little bit so you can feel a little calmer. The second thing is pranayama, controlled breathing. I have talked many videos about this. Again, pranayama, it helps to clean at a very subtle layer, the prana layer, which connects the body and the mind. So you're actually cleansing the nadis, the energy channels that carry oxygen and energy throughout the body, your nervous system. So it helps to calm the nervous system when you do pranayama. Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, is very good. There are also some cooling breaths like Shitali and Shitkari, where you're inhaling, and I've shared this in my Pitta pacifying video, and I will share the link in the description so you can go and look at it in there. So Shitali, Shatkari, and then also Brahmari, which is like a bee breath, that is also very good to calm the nervous system. Third thing is, of course, meditation. Nowadays, we hear a lot about mindfulness. Mindful meditation, just observe your thoughts, don't react to them and let them go. That is definitely a good thing to do. However, you can do other kinds of meditation as well. A lot of times when you're angry and you're, speaking harshly, it's because your head is taken over, your heart is not working. So at those times, it is good to develop some compassion to understand where the other person is coming from. Even initially, if you are triggered to get angry at something, if that compassion kicks in, it will give you a little bit more peace. So I'll share the link in the description for a guided meditation for compassion meditation. You can follow that as well. So yoga is always about going beyond the mind and doing some of these practices on a daily basis, so you are ready when this happens in the future, right? So at the moment when you're angry, you cannot sit and start meditating. Of course, you can take some deep breaths and touch your heart. All of that you can do, but it's important to regularly clean our mind so the stress doesn't build up like a pressure cooker and suddenly explodes when you least expect it. So this is a daily practice. And there's a sutra that says, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam, meaning we have a capacity to help ourselves or get rid of all of Dukkham in the future. How? By doing some of these yoga practices. So what is the modern perspective in psychology? First one is, of course, most people talk about is cognitive behavior therapy. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just giving you a brief. Of course, if you have a psychologist, please do talk to them. But this basically recognizing your triggers. And then if you see there's a lot of negative thoughts coming through, try to replace it with positive. This is what we are told. Again, being mindful of those triggers. And this is where I told you that ball example. So remember that ball starts, if it's falling, then be aware of that. Second one is when you're angry, you notice that you stop breathing. So again, they say take a pause, take a deep breath. And again, you can keep your hand on your heart, and sometimes that actually calms you down. Because other times when we are saying things, it is coming from our head, our ego is just hurt, so you're kind of saying things. But sometimes when you just hold on to your chest like this, you keep hand on your chest and take a couple of deep breaths, it might actually help you cool down. And then you could speak from a place of compassion. Even if you have to assert yourself, it's okay, but at least the tone would be a little bit better. Third one is, of course, journaling. And this is something I swear by that because I have been doing this for decades and it has helped me through a lot of tough times in my life. Now, when you journal, you can actually write down you can write down the situation where you got angry and ask yourself why you got angry, what triggered it, what are the thoughts that are going through your head when you got stimulated by this trigger, and then you can come up with a solution. So the solution, if the anger is within you, the solution is also within you. So this is a great way to find out some of your triggers and learn to manage them in the future. Now, again, you cannot do it on the spur of the moment. This is why you need to do things ahead of time, especially if you know you are prone to a lot of anger, then you want to do this. Again, you're doing this for your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health, and your spiritual well-being. And anger can be very detrimental to your health. To summarize all of this, from the three perspectives. Number one, Ayurvedic perspective, diet and lifestyle, eating more cooling foods, avoiding spicy, sour, and salty foods, eating milder spices, avoiding caffeine, getting a good night's sleep, and also abhyanga or self-oil massage. From the yogic standpoint, asanas, forward folds, and twisting poses, pranayama, nadi shodhana, as well as the cooling beds like shitali and chitkari and all of those, and brahmari, and then meditation and compassion meditation. Third one, from the modern perspective, be aware of your triggers, be mindful of them, journal them and learn from them, and try to help yourself in the future. For this week, again, listen to your body, observe your mind, and heal yourself. Now, I'm going to share some of the links I talked about in the description. Please do watch my last week's video. 2 weeks ago, I posted a video on keeping your inner peace. So please do watch that video because that will give you some good ideas on how to deal with relationships so you do not lose your inner peace. And this is one way to keep the anger at bay in relationships. So have a wonderful week ahead.